Imagine a world without walls, without roofs, and without a single dry place to hide. You are living 20,000 years ago, during the height of the Ice Age. The sky has turned a bruised, permanent gray. For 7 days straight, the rain has been a relentless, freezing curtain, turning your world into mud. You have no umbrella, no raincoat, and the fire you spent hours nurturing is now nothing more than a hiss of steam in a puddle. Most of us think of ancient humans as masters of the wild, but what did they actually do when the sky betrayed them?
Just keep moving!
This was a life-or-death crisis. If your skin stays wet for too long in the biting cold, your body temperature drops. The risk of hypothermia becomes real within a few short hours. But they weren't helpless. They were masters of improvisation, using everything the environment offered to create temporary lean-tos against the cliff. They knew that the secret to surviving a week of rain wasn't fighting the water, but guiding it away from where they slept. It was engineering. When the downpour became too intense, these groups retreated into the deep, dark belly of the earth. They knew the danger of staying out in the open. They didn't just huddle at the mouth of the cave, they moved deep inside, where the temperature remained stable, shielding them from the damp, freezing drafts. The rain forced them to become artists. While the storm raged, they turned the cave into a gallery, recording their dreams and their history. When they were forced to stay indoors, they didn't sit in silence. They crafted tools, repaired their gear, and turned a crisis into a period of productivity. They spent hours sewing hides, turning a miserable week of being trapped into a vital time for maintenance and preparation for the hunt. It is easy to assume their lives were purely brutal, but the evidence suggests the rain actually brought them closer together, fostering community. They traded stories and reinforced the social bonds that kept them alive. They weren't just surviving the weather, they were actively building a culture. But then, the atmosphere shifts. The rain stops, the clouds break, and the world has changed completely. A new landscape emerges. The week of rain transformed the ground, creating new river paths. This was their moment of greatest learning. They studied the new geography. They watched where the water pooled and where it flowed, gaining an intimate knowledge of the land. Every storm was a lesson for the next hunt. The rain was a gatekeeper. It filled hidden springs, allowing them to travel across paths that were normally bone-dry and impassable. As soon as the sun hit the saturated earth, the biological clock of the environment sped up. They treated the end of a rainstorm like a harvest. The earth was soft, making it easier to extract the resources they needed. It was a cycle of struggle and abundance, perfected over generations. We've lost that connection, haven't we? We fear the rain because we've built our lives to avoid it, but they danced to its rhythm. They didn't have screens. They watched the stars, the moon, and the weather patterns, turning the chaos of the storm into a predictable reality. Each generation taught the next how to handle the deluge, ensuring that no matter how hard it rained, their lineage would continue to thrive. We often look back at these people as primitive, but they possessed an ecological intelligence that we are only just beginning to rediscover. They knew the secrets of the water and the wind because their lives depended on it. They saw the storm as an invitation to grow. Every drop of rain that fell on their world was part of the same cycle that sustains us today. They were the first to understand the language. Think about the last time you felt trapped by the rain. Now, imagine yourself there, knowing exactly where the dry cave is, waiting for the sun. The rain is gone, the land is renewed, and the cycle begins anew. They survived because they understood. You don't have to be the strongest, you just have to be the most adaptable. The storm didn't break them, it made them. They were part of a wild, beautiful, ever-changing world. And in the silence that follows the rain, you can still hear the echoes of their journey, reminding us that we are all survivors of the same world.
But there was a hidden genius to their cave life. They didn't just light a fire and hope for the best. They understood airflow, choosing caves that acted like natural chimneys. They also had a trick for portable fire. When the rain was constant, they carried smoldering embers in hollowed-out horns, ensuring they could restart their fire anywhere. Even in the darkest weeks, they were creators. They spent hours grinding minerals and ochre, preparing the pigments that would eventually become timeless art. Communication was their survival tool. They used these long, trapped hours to refine language, mimicking the sounds of animals and the patterns of the storm. This was the birth of fine craftsmanship. They used the rain days to sharpen their needles and refine the barbs on their fishing spears, prepping for the thaw. They knew that storms brought change. After a week of rain, the rivers would swell, trapping fish in shallow pools. An easy, high-protein feast for everyone. The rain wasn't an enemy to a tracker, it was a map. Wet mud records every movement, every heartbeat, and every slight shift in the environment for the patient hunter. They waited for the moment the rain stopped. That brief window of silence, when the forest is still steaming, is when the animals were most vulnerable. It was a feast of opportunity. Plants that were withered yesterday would be bursting with hydration and life, offering a nutritional boost after a long, cold week. They were planners. They never kept all their food in one place. They cached their dried meat in elevated, dry crevices, safe from both the rain and the scavengers. They lived by the pulse of the planet. They didn't have calendars, but they had the sun, the stars, and the feel of the air on their skin. When one area became too waterlogged, they moved. They were nomadic, but they weren't lost. They followed the ancient, seasonal highways of the world. They knew which mountain passes became navigable only after the rain washed away the loose debris. The weather was a gatekeeper for their expansion. And what about the children? They learned by watching. Every splash, every slide in the mud, was a lesson in physics and survival for the next generation. They were the first botanists. They knew exactly which plants would thrive in the aftermath of a week-long storm, providing medicine when it was needed most. This wasn't just survival, it was a sophisticated technology. We are looking at thousands of years of trial, error, and perfected engineering. The beauty of their world was in the recovery. A landscape washed clean, the dust settled, the air crisp and clear. It was a new beginning every time. They had time to wonder. Watching the clouds clear away, they must have stared at the vast, uncaring, and beautiful expanse of the cosmos. They left us their art in the caves. They left us their tools in the sediment. And they left us the DNA of their resilience. We think we've mastered nature, but we've only built shelters. They mastered the art of living with the storm. The next time it rains for a week, don't feel trapped. Think about the ancestors who turned that week into the foundation of humanity. We have replaced the cave with the house and the flint with the machine. But the instinct to endure is still inside us. It reminds us that the storm is never the end of the story. It is merely a pause before the next season of growth. The world is always evolving, always recovering, and always inviting us to move forward, regardless of the conditions. They didn't fear the rain. They respected it, understood it, and eventually thrived because of it. Story is our story. It is the story of how we became the species that refuses to give up, no matter how hard it pours. So, next time you're kept inside by the weather, remember, you are the descendant of the most adaptable people who ever walked this earth. The rain is just part of the journey, and the journey is only just beginning. Stay curious, keep exploring, and remember,